All right, well, welcome to Super Garbage Day. My name is B. Ross, and to my right is...
This is Mr. Miller.
Mr. Miller. Lovely. And this is a show where we take games that we've never played, neither of us, and they have to be 20 years old, randomly picked, and we spend a week trying to beat them. We come back, and then we give you our review. Before we start on today's topic, I want to ask you something, Mr. Miller. What is your greatest retro game accomplishment?
Ooh, retro game accomplishments. It's probably the original Super Star Wars. Playing that, having that. I distinctly remember beating it for the first time, and that was
Super Star Wars on the SNES.
On the SNES,
dude, yeah. That's a hard game, man.
But yeah, it was probably, I think I was either 10 or 11.
Okay.
And I woke up one morning and it was just like, Saturday, this is what we're doing. And I think it was probably a 9-hour stint.
Dude, straight. That's a rough game. Like, I didn't make it. I played that game before, but I never made it that far. I got really frustrated with that game. But back in the day, in my heyday, I did not really put up with the hardness of NES and Super Nintendo games. I would get to a point where it was like, this isn't fun anymore, and just jump into another game. You know?
See, I was that grind kid. Where
I can tell. I can tell because with this project, I realized that you want to play games on hard.
Yeah.
And I want to play them on like the default setting to see how they were. It's so cool though, because we're gonna have two different perspectives of the game that we are reviewing, because you're doing it from like the hardest standpoint, and I'm doing it from like the released standpoint. So my greatest retro game achievement or accomplishment ever happened last year when I beat Battletoads on the NES.
See, and that's funny that you say you don't like the hard grind.
I do now.
Well, okay,
yeah,
you appreciate it now.
I played that. No, listen, I played that as a kid, and I got, like everybody else did, we get to turbo tunnels, level 3, and then you sit there and you go, F this game, I'm done. No, you get frustrated, but I pushed myself to play Battletoads. It took me 4 weeks.
4 weeks? I mean, honestly, that's not bad though.
I know, and I streamed all of it because I was like, I'm proving this. I don't care. And I even had my friend made me a wallet. I have a friend who does leather work, and he made me a Battletoads wallet and commemorate.
That's dope.
Yeah, so it actually became my favorite NES game because of that. And I hated that game. So weird that if you actually push yourself to beat something or play through something, and it changes your entire opinion. Like, I like to just fire up Battletoads now, see how far I can get, because I had to play it over and over and over.
Where you just like, I got an hour, let's see where.
Yeah, I will fire it up, and it feels great because it's all trial and error, it's repetition. But beating Battletoads so much to, like, every month or every other month on Facebook, I'll put, hey, just to remind everybody that I beat Battletoads on the NES. I'll just throw it out there. Yeah, that's it so far though. Other than that, today we picked a game randomly for our first episode. We went to our giant list of games, and of course the games have to be at least 20 years old for us to play them and review them. And it's really funny to me that the game that we ended up choosing, well, not us, but fate chose, happened to be exactly the 20-year mark, 2002.
Yeah, it was actually fairly serendipitous on that.
Yeah, for sure. Because the first game we accidentally picked was 2004, and we were all like kind of hyped on it. It was like, oh, I've never played this. I always want to play it. And I'm like, oh, wait. No,
it breaks the rules.
That breaks the rules. We got to stick to the rules.
We'll play it in 2 years if the podcast continues.
I will. I can guarantee you that, man. It's gonna. There's many games and there's a lot of us. So I don't even know what that means. So the game that we landed on was Bloodrayne. Yeah! Developed by Terminal Reality and first released on October 31st of 2002.
See, I didn't know that, and that's actually
on Halloween.
That's pretty funny.
That is. Well, I it's the marketing. And the idea behind Bloodrayne, if you don't know. Also, it was released, I might want to add, PS2, GameCube at the time, I think.
It wasn't Xbox?
I don't think it was on Xbox.
Really?
I don't know, actually.
Because I thought it was all platforms, even on the PC at the time.
Let's see. Oh, it was. You're correct. PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, and PC. So you are correct. Okay. I don't know how I missed that. It's probably because I'm playing the GameCube version.
So yeah, and I'm
focused on that.
I'm playing the PC version.
Right. It is a action adventure hack and slash. Like I said,
with an Xbox controller. I would like to just.
Okay, so you're pretty much playing the Xbox version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rain is a half vampire on a mission to destroy any vampires, or in this case, mutants and Nazis that cross her path. The game begins in 1933. It consists of 3 acts.
Oh, but you forget that she's part of this secret society that they set up this whole.
Well, what are you spoiling it?
Am I spoiling it?
I don't know. Maybe
it's in the opening cutscene. Did you not watch it?
You're right. Well, I don't want to get any flack. Somebody be like, "Man, you just ruined the opening cutscene, bro."
It's a 20-year-old game. If you haven't played it by now, like us, then sorry, spoilers. All of this podcast is gonna be spoilers.
It's also probably on the back of the box, to be honest. Consists of 3 acts, spanning from Louisiana all the way to Argentina, and some kind of vampire castle. I forget where that's located.
It literally in Germany.
It's in Germany. Okay,
yeah,
makes sense. But the game is heavy on a lot of things. That being 2002 culture and style. Definitely the Nazi cliche of killing Nazis, which I hope is just a cliche forever.
You can't feel bad about them.
No,
they're the best villains, and they dress well.
And they went so hard though on this game. We'll get into that later.
And with the occult,
yeah, they went all out a little bit. I think for 2002 they went all out. So we're gonna dive right now into first impressions. This game is very janky. Now, I'm saying first impressions as the first 20 minutes you played it.
When I first booted it up, I was like, "Oh Lord!"
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's
I
rough.
think I actually texted you as soon as I was just like, "Oh God, what are we doing?"
Well, because you got a hold of a copy before I did, and you were sending me like, "Oh man," and then I got a hold of a copy. And I kind of sent the same thing.
Yeah.
I was a little more brutal.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, wow, the jank is real. Also, it's very much a GameCube game. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, it's got that feel, that look, the control scheme. It's got the clunky, weird graphics that are kind of somewhere between N64 and the Wii, you know, that whole era.
See, and I would put it at, like, prime PS2.
Prime PS2. Okay.
Yeah, like it is. This is like not when PS2 figured itself out,
right?
But when they were just pumping titles out.
It's like Metal Gear Solid 2 area, you think?
Yeah.
God, just such a more polished game.
Well, yes, but that's the thing is that's why I'm saying it's prime, because this is like when the height of sales were,
right? And
so they were just pumping out content,
absolutely,
and just trying to put games out.
Yeah.
Whereas I understand what you're saying with the GameCube, but like their ports were rough.
I had to do bring that up. Yes,
some of them were rough.
GameCube,
some of them were, I think, were the better versions of the games.
Well, to an extent though, but when you think about the GameCube version of a game versus the PS2, you always think port, right? You don't think like the version. You think port because they had to downgrade a little bit because the technology wasn't as strong in the GameCube as it was in the Xbox and the PS2. What's funny too, fun fact, side fact, totally unrelated to Bloodrayne. But I found out recently that the original Xbox hardware is more powerful than the Nintendo Wii. I didn't know that.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. It's just, the Wii, personally, I think the Wii is a gimmick.
Well, that's what I played Bloodrayne on. Because it plays every GameCube game, and I think that's freaking awesome, dude. You can pop a different size CD into it, and it'll play the game. And Xbox couldn't get that though. You know, I was like, it's like if you bought a Super Nintendo, you just plug a Nintendo game into it and play it.
Oh yeah.
Right. But for reals, the Wii wasn't the strongest console that I've owned. It was one I owned the least of. I don't know if that's
You talking
saying
about
it
the
correctly.
GameCube or the?
No, I played the hell out of the GameCube. It was the
See.
Wii. But are you saying the Wii was gimmicky? I kind of agree with you on that. At the same time though, it was important, and I'm using it to play GameCube games.
It got my mom to get back into gaming.
I noticed that. I'm not your mom, but I noticed that. I noticed that when I'd go to like my friends' houses or go to like family gatherings, like all the older the generation above me were just Wii bowling, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, literally,
They opened up a demographic.
I would catch my mom just playing like Cooking Mama
Skyward.
or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish she was playing Skyrim. That would be hilarious.
I don't know. Was that on the Wii? Yeah, it was.
Maybe. What console is it not on?
That's true. Well, just Nintendo consoles.
If it isn't, they're going to re-release it in the next couple
Skyward
of
Sword
years.
was Skyward Sword on Wii.
Skyward Sword was on.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it was a Wii. Okay, so
back to Bloodrayne.
Back to Bloodrayne's first impressions. I like the intro. I thought the intro was decent. I thought the voice acting was great. The graphics looked decent for the time. Actually, probably really good for the time.
We're talking about the cinematic intro.
The cinematic intro right into the beginning of the game. I feel like it was well done.
I agree.
And it explains what's going on and who the character is, and kind of shows off her badassery.
Mm-hmm. It's also entirely disconnected from the entire first act, but we'll get there.
Absolutely. There's a problem, and the problem with the game is the first act, but we'll get there. The intro also seemed like a lot of the production money or the budget went into it, because the voice acting is good, the animation's good, but then you get further in the game and it seems like their budget is just diminishing because the voice acting gets worse. The graphics are just the cutscenes later on are so far and few, and they're very short.
So I wish I would have done more like research into the development of this game.
Yeah,
because
they had a $2 million budget. I know that.
$2 million budget?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I think they had a $7 million budget, but it took 2 years to develop. This game took 2 years.
So that's actually very short for a game. It also feels like somebody came in with an idea, and then they either were like, I gotta go because of workplace
stuff going on.
Yeah, or like something happened.
So you feel like they handed the project off to a different team? Are you seeing like 2 different developers?
It feels that way.
But it feels that way. You're not saying that's what happened. But
that's why I'm saying I wish I had
I agree with
done a bigger deep dive on this, because especially with, and I will touch back on this later on, because the way the game develops, it feels like that we're handed a script that was jumbled up.
Right.
Like,
so it switched directors. Like if it was a movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel you.
And somebody didn't proofread the script, or like acts got put into wrong places, and they just said, we're doing it live.
It kind of got sloppy. I agree. I 100% agree with that take. I think that you've summed it up better than I could. It seems like the can was kicked down to somebody and they tried their best. But I don't know if that really happened. We should look into that. Maybe the next episode revisit it for
do like
see like if that actually happened, because
part 2 or
because that would be really cool for our perception, our video game perception, to be like, well, we noticed this and it really did happen. But if it didn't happen, it's kind of just whatever game. It's
right.
Just, something happened, because you see the triple anus. you see the triple A style of it, or you see like the production value
there was,
be high, and then you see the production value be like bargain bin.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Going back to that first intro, when it was leading up, I was like, oh, I'm getting hype. I was just like, oh, this might actually just be like that game I slept on.
Yeah.
And over here, just all of my, like, I loved Underworld, like the first one and all that. I was just like, why did I not play this?
Right.
And I think it's probably because I didn't own.
I just knew of it. I didn't know anything else. I just knew that it was released.
Yeah. And I think probably is because when it came out, it was one of those like, well, do I really want to spend a rental on this on a console I don't own?
Let me tell you about the games that were released around the same month.
Okay, that actually might.
So In the same month, and I would say like from October to into November of 2002, Ratchet and Clank came out.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto Vice City,
Okay.
Tony Hawk 4, and Battlefield 1942 all came out when this was released. And I can tell you which one of those 4 games I was playing. I ended up playing all those games.
Tony Hawk 4.
Nope. Battlefield, dude. I was hard on Battlefield 1942. We had that demo. They released that demo. We played that. I think we pulled like 2 all-nighters just playing the demo for Battlefield 1942. So this game came out at a time where I clearly was going to ignore it because I'm like, I don't want to play as a female vampire person killing Nazis right now. I'm killing them in Battlefield.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing it more historically accurate.
I get that.
But yeah, so I see that the graduating class of October, November 2002 kind of made Bloodrayne not fall on my radar.
Yeah. I mean, that checks out. I think I looked at it and it was like, this is a little too edgelordy for me.
It's, well, at the time though, I mean, you got to understand.
But then again,
2002 was the height of fake boobs and like Jersey Shore and machoism and jackass culture, and you know what I mean, like the whole.
It literally is, and I will pull this from a quote of a review from
MySpace just came out, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So just think about that. Like, edgelord didn't even exist.
So it was
created.
This is a quote from a review on Steam for the Steam release of this game.
Okay.
That this is a Hot Topic employee goes to Louisiana to fight Nazis with all the hyper violence that existed in the early 2000s.
That's so on point.
And
I love it.
Which sucks because that means they only made it through the first act. Because literally
that does suck.
I would like to caveat into the first act.
Yes, let's talk about the first act.
Sucks hot donkey balls.
Well, how about this? Let's go into gameplay right now. We're going to dive into this. You want
to do gameplay because I think.
Well, I mean, it's a part of it. I mean,
but I would have to say we can't do gameplay until we get into at least the 5th act because you don't unlock abilities until.
There's no 5th act.
No, not 5th act. Sorry, until the final act.
You played the hell out of this game.
Well,
yeah, I know.
I was thinking,
I actually have some words about that too, though. About the abilities. Actually, I brought that up as a bullet point in this game and how it poorly dispersed it was.
Agreed.
And I felt like the tutorial was more fun than the entire first act because it was cohesive. It had a character, Mince, who is actually just as cool as Rain and helps you and shows you how to fight and do this stuff, and had this total timeline and story. And then
also jiggles more than anyone should ever
jiggle. The jiggle is funny. That was the era of like boob jiggles in games.
I think they just figured it out.
They did it, but every game had it, man. I feel like Dead or Alive showed it, and then every game's like, every boob's got to jiggle from here on out.
To the extreme.
But on this game, it's silly because it happens.
So bad.
It's so unnecessary.
Literally, yeah,
it's in
somebody
cutscenes.
will like, it's like, here, let me give you a beer, and they hand that.
Yeah,
like,
and then
their
the boobs
arm
are just
moves
flying
and the
around,
tits just flying
like
everywhere.
a crash test dummy getting in a wreck, just flailing.
Like, people made fun of the hair physics in Assassin's Creed. What was the French one? Revolution.
Yeah, Revolution.
And it's like, no, it's like crank that up to 11, but only for the tits.
It's so funny they paid so much attention to that.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
because all the rest of the animation is very of the era.
Yeah.
Like kind of robotic. But
right.
But the titties are like flying free.
Well, they like I said, they really put the dynamic or the interest and the attention into making sure that the boobs were bouncing perfectly, like they were fake and real. But like you said, like it's like everything else is robotic and silly. Like there's no blinking and the mouth just goes up and down.
Yeah.
But the boobs are like straight going perfectly moving how they would if somebody barely jumped. And I was like, damn, man, that was a sign of those times. You know, like 2002 was all about that.
With the outfits they're wearing though.
Oh, that too.
Them titties not moving any like.
I know. It's like everything is skin tight. So to me,
so like
it's that whole like over sexualization back then.
Oh,
like you had any feel like it's Laura Croft. Like you said this earlier before we started this. You were like, oh, it's vampire Laura Croft.
Yeah,
spot on. That's what it is, except not as good as Tomb Raider, you know?
Right. The gameplay is not as tight.
It's not as tight, but you know, that focus on the breasts and the focus on the sexualization and like the sound when you like, when you're, I know, it's like, come on. But in retro, back when I was in my early 20s when it came out, or I think I just graduated high school, you know, I probably was like, this is cool, sexy,
I don't even think
but I didn't play it.
I don't even think you were that old.
Oh yeah, man.
You were probably only 16 when that game came out.
No, dude, I graduated 2001.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm old. But I wasn't playing that game.
Yeah.
I was playing Battlefield because that was like a revelation back then. But you know, I'm glad I did come back. I'm glad this game was chosen by fate, by the game gods.
Yep.
Because to be fair, I had a good time ultimately, but we'll get to that. So let's talk about Act 1.
Oh.
Act 1, I don't understand. I don't understand what happened here because very rarely do I play a game where it's more polished the further you play into it.
Usually it devolves.
It devolves, right? Like, because you see, like, okay, well, things get repetitive, or they get.
It's like, so it's either great all the way through,
yeah,
or they come off strong and it kind of piddles off.
Yeah.
But this one straight up was, I'm gonna just give you a plate of dog food,
dude. It's like it's everything you hate about games at that time. It's like fetch quest, open landscape,
literally no background. It's just
no background,
black emptiness.
Just go to this location, do this thing. It's a terrible, terrible first impression for a player playing this game because you're not playing the first act and thinking, wow, this is great, I want to play more. I would understand why a lot of people shut this game off after the first act because what is there to tell them that it's not going to continue like that?
Also, it doesn't fit with the story.
It doesn't.
So
it's silly. It doesn't make sense. I feel like they
just
added that.
Yeah, just to break down the way it starts is you have a vampire mentor who is teaching your damn fear protagonist, Rain, the ropes of how the what if I just drew a blank. I should have written this down so I could remember. The Bloodstone Society.
Yes.
Operates. It's her first mission. And it is in the backwoods of Louisiana for no reason because the opening cinematic starts them in like middle Europe.
Also, can we bring up how funny the Louisiana accent on the characters you come across and how silly it is?
They go they
go from like Creole to straight France.
Yeah.
And it's done by voice actors who probably don't speak French or from Louisiana.
It'd be real.
It's pretty funny.
It'd be real bad now.
There was a point where I laughed out loud, especially in the first act, whenever you finally get everybody to the church and then you go back and then like all hell breaks loose and Mince just gets eaten. And then all these monsters run into all these people you saved in the first act and start eating them, and they're running out with these giant bellies. I started laughing my ass off because they're like, "Oh no!"
That the bellies also jiggled.
So. I know. They're like, "Hey, apply that to that. Those look like boobs."
Yeah.
So, but I thought like, wow, this is terrible. This is why when we both first went into this game, we were like, this is a hot garbage. Like,
yeah, it's a lot of like janky tightrope walking.
Yeah.
Just to emphasize, these are things your character can do.
Mm-hmm.
Also, water bad, which will come up later in more puzzles.
Water thing pissed me off.
But the water thing in the first act, it was literally the hardest part of the
it's
entire game.
It's like the floor is lava through the entire first act.
Because everything is just so...
And you're learning the game. You're learning how to fight and how to find things, and you're figuring out the system. And yet you can't walk 6 meters any direction without your health draining down to nothing, and you're like, what the...
I mean, thankfully every enemy is a lunchbox.
They are. Yeah, I actually call them health packs.
Yeah,
because they are. Like, every enemy is a health pack. That's how the health is. I'm okay with it. Like, at first I thought like, oh, this is stupid,
Which, but I mean, it does come into
Helps
play later
Yeah.
when the enemies, like, because in the first act too, everyone you can just slice through like they're butter. Even on the hardest difficulty, I was.
But
just
then you're
like,
stepping in water. Like you have to be in knee deep water for most of the
my arch nemesis was the environment.
Yes.
Playing on hard,
and it was you played on hard too. So I couldn't imagine. Like I was frustrated. I almost gave up. I wasn't going to give up because that's not the name of the game.
It's
but
not what we do here.
Yeah, it's not what we do here. But I was already frustrated because the first act, I'm like, am I really going to have to deal with like 2 more acts of this nonsense?
Yeah.
Of these like fetch quests, this half-assery. The first act is super half-assed. That's the way I look at it. And everything, it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to figure out how to do things. It took me a while for the controls to click. I didn't like the controls at first.
Yeah.
Because it kind of tanky, that old school tank, like you move and then go forward. But then it clicked.
See, and it's funny because the way I think the system you played it on.
Yeah. GameCube.
The game, well, GameCube modified.
Well, with the Wii, I played it on the Wii with the Wii Pro controller, so it's definitely different.
Yeah, because I think with the actual GameCube setup, with how the buttons are, because honestly, I love the GameCube controller.
I do too. I actually was trying to get a hold of a controller for this game, and I wasn't able to do it. But moving forward, if we do GameCube more, I'm gonna use it because it plugs right into the Wii, so it's perfect.
I have one.
Yeah.
I'll bring it next.
Next well,
session.
if we're gonna cross paths.
Well,
with the
I'm
GameCube
just
game.
gonna bring it next session just in case.
Yeah.
Because I have one. Just
I do
out.
appreciate that.
But no, because just jumping on that little bit, just figuring it out, I was like, okay. Because there was no reason why it should have been.
Because what you're stating is like when you came over and you played it how I played it, and you were like, "Oh, I'm using the Wii Pro Retro controller,"
and I'm using,
and you're like, "Wow, this is totally crazy."
And I'm using an Xbox controller, and
I adapted to it. Like it was very frustrating at first, and I kind of assumed that was going to happen because I'm not playing it on the actual controller, but I did eventually figure it out, and it helped later on the other acts. But definitely moving forward, I'm going to use the GameCube controller.
To set it up, when you begin, you only have like 2 moves.
Yeah.
It's slash and like a kick.
Yeah.
A spin kick move. And
like a Chung Li kick. Yeah.
And then you have guns. And the gunplay is dumb.
I hate that there are guns in this game because they messed up every aspect of having guns in a game.
See, I like it later though.
I do too, but first, can we just address how weird the gun selection screen is and how it's like a gradient and you can't choose individual guns?
You literally just have a pocket full of guns and it's just like,
and it's like, I'm using the smaller guns or the bigger guns or a special gun. And I never really saw the strategy there. I was just clicking through it. They all do the same thing.
So,
and you're not killing really anything with those except baseline enemies.
No,
it felt unnecessary.
What I would use it is, and it comes up more in like the harder difficulty.
Right.
Is I would use light guns as like a stun. So if I'm like getting lit up by somebody, I can just like turn over and just be like baka baka. And then they stop shooting at me for a hot second. But
you were way more strategic than I was.
But I
was primarily melee because the guns were only like for a like ranged, keeping things back while I dealt with what was close.
And typically,
but you had a higher difficulty, so that's interesting.
So I think the higher difficulty makes you have to be more strategic.
Exactly.
I also like had to like that. The move that is the jump and then the spin attack, which you use to like get through walls,
which you use a million times in this game.
So I actually started using it as like a way to like slip underneath people's feet. And
really?
Stuff. And
wow.
So if you like jump, then you can just like spin move under somebody's feet and get behind them, and then jump on their back and use them as a health and everything.
Yeah, health pack. Yeah.
So yeah, it does get a little more strategic. But that first act,
that's really interesting. Oh, the first act, there's no strategy.
No,
it's like, here, go take care of these weird alien bug things, and also there's zombie guys
that
walking around.
never show up again.
Ever show up again. And I don't understand that first act. Like, how, as the developer with that budget, how did they get through? How do playtesters get through that and be like, hey, the first act sucks, dude? Like, but the second act is great.
I feel like they built the second act first.
Really? Wow. What's the logic behind that, though?
Because
why would they do that?
They needed to sell, though, you're going to be a badass vampire killing Nazis.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of cool ass.
But why
guns.
do they half-ass the first act so bad? Because
that's where I'm saying I think it was passed off to somebody.
Okay. And that's where that shows. They're like, oh, here's the toolkit, make something, and they're like, well, it's not going to be as good as the first act.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, not going to be as good as the second. I don't know. It to me, everybody listening to this, just if you're going to play this game, get past the first act.
Yes, please.
That's the tutorial.
That being said,
it's the worst tutorial ever.
That boss is hard as
Oh, in the first act?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had some problems with that because it's also one of the few bosses. The bosses in this game blow my mind. They're all so different, and not in a good way, but also not in a bad way. They're just, it's like it kind of feeds into this concept you have of like it's different developers, because the first boss was challenging and you had to run around. There's like an open landscape. You had to actually move. You had to keep moving and then kind of like figure out when to attack. I was not
expecting to have to kite a boss for the first boss.
And I died so many times and I was like almost checking out at that point. I'm like, this is pissing me off.
Especially because there's water everywhere.
Yeah. So you're dealing with, it should have been like the fourth boss in the game. It was so difficult. But no, I agree. But once I got past that, you know, we get into the second act.
There isn't a boss.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say first act sucks. Get past the first act. If you're going to play this, you just got to nut up and just...
You got to sloth through the trough.
It's only going to be if you're just playing it on normal and you're like a hardcore gamer.
Yeah.
Like, it'll take you an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Maybe. And that's if you just can't wrap your head around this.
It's worth getting through it though.
But once you get to the second act
goes good.
And this is where I was just like, I literally turned to my roommate and was like, oh shit, this game is good now. Because
that's really where it wakes up.
Well, they give you that slow down time ability.
Yeah.
And that's what.
See, it's so funny because I played it differently than you. I never use that.
Oh, it's so
only
good.
When they forced me to. I'd only use that slowdown, and of course we have to understand that this game came out at post The Matrix being released 3 years prior. So this was during the time when it was in vogue to have every video game have a bullet time or a Matrix thing, and this game has two. What is with that? It has two abilities.
No, you're talking about the.
You have the blood rage, and then you have like the slow down bullet time, but they're the same thing except one doesn't cost you anything.
So talking about the bullet time, and the blood rage,
and how you think that they're different, and I do not think they're different.
So they are completely different. So the bullet time, literally slows down time, and so then you can like dodge bullets,
right?
Place yourself.
Well, I'm aware of what I know. Like the blood rage gives you like a boost, a buff. You know,
it actually unlocks a completely different move set too, though.
Okay.
So you actually do more damage with your blades, and are more damage resistant while moving faster.
Right.
So the idea with the blood rage is you actually move faster.
It's like berserking.
Pretty much, yeah.
In other games, like you go into berserk mode.
But the enemies move the same as normal.
Right.
Whereas the slowdown time is you are still faster. Because even if you're in just like the normal gameplay, you are faster than the humans and stuff like that. But it slows it down to a point where they are so slow that you can literally dodge through every one of their bullets.
Oh,
and
okay.
Every one of
But
their
you can't do
attacks.
that during
cannot
Blood
do that
Rage.
during Blood Rage.
Oh, okay.
But Blood Rage gives you kind of like a damage resistance.
I never used. I mean, we both got. I think we just discovered that we both got to the same part of the game.
I am two levels further than you.
Okay. So, but I got that far with only using that bullet time, that slowdown thing, when it forced me to, which was like the factory level with this, like the classic stomping stuff.
And I use it all the time.
I know. I saw you do that, and I
just
thought,
to pull off dumb where I'm just like,
I was impressed. I was like, well, maybe I slept on this.
Yeah, because it's like, no, it's, I'll see like a group of baddies, and I'm just like, bullet time,
and you just go in and just
like,
mince them,
just juke them, and then I'll speed it up once I know I can just slice them up, or if I jump on a guy and I don't want to sit there and just slow-mo porn suck his blood, because it does it.
That's what it sounds like.
It's not a porn game, but it can be.
It sounds like that. But my whole argument here is that I feel majority of my playthrough in this game felt like 50% button mashing. I didn't feel like there was a lot of strategy.
And that's a way to play through it.
But am I wrong here in a sense of maybe I was not using the right things?
You can muscle your way through it and do that.
I did. Because I thought that's that's the only way to do it.
But I don't think you would be able to get through a hard playthrough playing it.
No, definitely not.
Especially during the Mangala fight. With Mangala's daughter.
Yeah.
Because on hard, you have to be in slow-mo.
Like, and on point, right?
The entire time, and mostly using like the jump and bounce off attack.
Right.
Because otherwise she's just gonna tear your apart.
I didn't use that at all. I didn't jump off anybody except for that one guy.
We played completely different games.
We did. I feel like it's so crazy how different it is with the difficulty setting changed. Wow.
So Act 2 is set in a secret facility in Argentina.
Yeah.
And
controlled by the Nazis.
Which everyone knows the rumors that all the Nazis just fled to Argentina. It's also not rumor, it's true.
I didn't know that.
Really?
I'm not a big World War II buff.
Oh, okay, yeah. So most
didn't know that. I when I first played this, I was like, why are they in Argentina? But that was just through ignorance.
Most of the high-ranking Nazi officers that did not either defect or were taken by Operation Matchbook were relocated to Argentina or fled to Argentina.
So the game's historically accurate.
A little bit.
But
it backwards. I also think Act 2 should be Act 3.
But it was like 1933. Oh no, they jumped ahead. That's right. Yeah, after Act 2. Act 1 was in 1933, and then Act 2 is during World War II.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like Act 2 should be Act 3.
I kind of already feel that too, even though I just started Act 3. And I'm going to complete this game because I have to now because I'm kind of invested. But I do get that sense because Act 2 to me was great.
Act 2 is
great.
The primo, you are set up. Whereas Act 1 was, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to find out this bug, this weird disease thing.
Doesn't make any sense.
But then Act 2 is straight up. It's just like, here's a dossier. Go kill some Nazis.
It's cool, dude. And I always fall victim to loving like things that are set up like that. Like I like Kill Bill for that reason. There's a list of enemies to get. Like that's a big thing for me in games and in like media and in like books. Like having a kill list and you're on a vengeance thing.
The only thing I wish they would have done in this with having that list is being able to select a person on the list
and then go after them
and get their dossier. Like I want the lore. I'm a lore
I don't think the
hound.
technology really was capable of that though.
They did it in 64, the Bond GoldenEye. They straight up had dossiers on.
It was very linear though.
So is this.
True, but I mean Bloodrayne
literally you could pull up your dossier in James Bond, and it would
But
have.
we're talking about an IP that started in the 1960s versus something that started with comic books like a decade earlier. So like they're
all I need is a blurb and be like, this guy's a bastard, man.
I feel
because
you. I agree. Well, Jesus Christ, yes.
like they're Nazis.
Why take that out? But
I don't know. Paint me a picture of what's the worst thing you could
right,
think
right.
of.
Well, they're Nazis. That's all.
Yeah.
But I get that. But at the same time, like you said, it seemed developmentally everywhere. You know, like I feel like a lot of the effort and love was kind of put into the second act. I have yet to play the third act. I just started it, and I don't know how it's going to go. But if it's anything like the second act, this game should have not even had a first act.
I 100% agree.
That's where I'm at. Like,
do I do a redub? Get rid of the first act.
Get rid of the first, and they did re-release it and update it. And it's like, just get rid of the first act.
Yeah.
Nobody wants. It's not helping anybody. It's serving no favors to any person who wants to play Bloodrayne or get into it or experience it and play through this really super basic, stupid baseline level that, or I should say multiple levels, that doesn't make any sense, doesn't add to the lore, doesn't add to the character, doesn't make any, I don't understand why the first act exists.
I 100% agree.
It's the first thing you play. So I'm thinking about the reviews. I looked back, you know, after I played enough of the game, I got in like, 6 hours of the game. I would go and look at reviews, but I would look at the reviews when it came out, and I would see that a lot of people were saying the same thing we're saying. Like the first act is stupid.
It's really rough.
It's stupid, and you have to do it for hours, and it's not helping you. It doesn't teach you the mechanics any better because you're always dealing with enemies that are attacking you in the goddamn water.
If anything, it doesn't actually teach you the mechanics of the game because, like I said, we played completely different games.
It sounds like it.
I feel like if you don't utilize the slowdown mechanic, then
I barely used it.
Oh, yeah, and
barely.
That just makes me say, "What are you doing?"
And we ended up at the same. We ended up at the same point, except that you're on a different difficulty level. So that's perhaps that is the difference.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me because I really liked the second act.
Yeah,
and you did too.
I digging through a hidden compound and just killing Nazis.
But it had a lot of flaws. It came with a lot of bull. I feel like a lot of the, you have this laundry list of enemies that you have to take out, these major enemies.
Yeah.
And some of them were just kind of like whatever. They're like, oh, he's in this room, and you kill him, and it does the whole thing. It checks them off the list. But some of them have these big cinematic, meetings, and they're cool. Like that other girl you meet, where you can clearly see her nipples. There's the cutscene. Yeah, you see her nipples.
You're talking about Mengele's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that whole fight was nothing. Like I walked up, went into Blood Rage, and beat her ass.
See.
And she flew through the window, and I was like, "This is silly."
We had different.
There was different fights I had with other bosses that were 10 times harder than that.
Yeah, you were saying the last. None of them before. Von Blutz was interesting.
Von Blut. Let's talk about that. To me, that was probably, I don't know how to approach this, but that boss fight was good. And also, I don't know, man, they went hard on the Nazi shit.
Yeah.
That boss, the priest, right?
Yeah, the one on the altar that was a submachine was a fully automated machine gun.
Some of these bosses in this game give me some like Metal Gear Solid 3 vibes.
Very much so.
But half-assed. Like Von Blut is this priest, Nazi priest wearing
he's straight up in like a KKK.
It's a KKK outfit, yes. Yeah. But with like swastikas and the whole nine. It's
which
like
is funny
even
because
worse. It made me uncomfortable.
It's funny because a swastika doesn't actually show up until you fight the
Buffy guy,
the buff guy with the
Juggernaut. Yeah,
the Juggernaut guy.
And then I was like, oof.
But
like
it honestly, the symbol they use looks more like a 45 adapter. The entire time, and I thought
he had straight up the prison tats.
But then all of a sudden they go hard Nazi.
I
with
know.
Like
I think they went hard not to with Von Blute, dude.
And then like his back tats with the Iron Eagle and
I was
everything.
kind of like, there was a lot of parts in this game where I'm not trying to sound one way or another, but I was like, wow, they're kind of a little bit romanticizing. I don't know. It's a very hard Nazi. Like, it's not like Wolfenstein where it's like, oh, here's the armband and here's a picture of Hitler. It's like hat guy with the whole ordeal.
I took it as cartoonish because
it was cartoonish, and I don't think there was any like
because the fact that none of the officers or like any of your targets or anything other than that one character, to my memory, actually has an actual Nazi regalia on them.
Well, all of them do. all the people on the list, because they're all wearing the red with the armband, and it has it on it,
but it doesn't have the actual swastika on it.
Really? I have to revisit that.
It's a weird like I said, it's like a
so they went hard that later on post why did she have like the girl, I can't think of her name, what was her name?
Well,
she was so unremarkable to me.
Are you talking about Mengele's daughter?
Yeah,
I can't remember her first name.
I can't remember it either.
I just remember
that was when they really like were showing it off.
Like, and she had like Tits McGee.
She had a face mask on too that had blood under it, and I'm like, what is the point of that? Why is there blood under your face mask? And then the boobs are out.
Oh yeah, it's tits for day. I was like, all of a sudden I was just like, well.
And they show her nipple. I'm telling you, I like the cutscene. I had to redo it a couple times because she beat me. Well, no, actually, she only beat me once. But then I was like, oh, this is cake, because you just have to run up and Blood Rager. I was like, yeah, it definitely shows her nipple.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They snuck that in for sure. But her, it's just so, the Von Blute, dude. Like, and that boss battle I actually had the most fun with.
See,
because I had to figure it out, and it took a lot of running back and forth and like replenishing my health.
Because you didn't use
the slowdown. Yeah, because I was chasing his ass at full speed the whole time. We did play two different games.
Yeah, if you slow him down, then you can he turns his back to you and you just go baka, 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 baka,
I did that.
baka,
No,
baka.
but I had to go like back and forth with Von Blute a couple times to get him to turn around to shoot him in the back, but also fighting off like being low health and looking for some NPC to run out. So
that's the thing is you just turn the slow mo on.
See,
and then it's just like
I see where I made my mistakes.
And I grab an NPC and I go behind a pillar and I suck him dry, and then I come back and I go baka baka baka.
Go behind a pillar and I suck him dry.
Yeah, you're not playing like a vampire, man.
No, it's true though. No, I was just going in like full action, like Metal Gear Solid style. You should see it the way I played Metal Gear Solid when I did, because I did not. I was like blasting and just like letting the chaos happen.
Yeah, no. See, I was like grabbing dudes and like spinning around a pillar and sucking them, and then I would come out as he's like rolling down the way, trying to shoot me, and I'm like doing the Laura Croft cartwheel spin.
Yeah.
Just daka, 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 daka.
Dude.
It's all in slow-mo.
Such an erotic description.
I mean, I told you when we first started this movie, I have this game. We'll get to the movie. When we first started this game, it was like I got a date with a vampire dominatrix, and that's how I played
and
it.
I was like, do you really? And then you're like, no, dude, the game that was chosen. And I'm like, wow, I'm so dense. I was excited for you. I was like, oh, cool, dude, let me know.
I got excited for myself and then very disappointed because I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Hey, man, we still have we're still young, bashful men. Who knows?
Second act.
Well, I mean, that's it. Like
the gush.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's good. It redeems the first act, but to me the problem there lies that there's such a contrast in how good and bad the game is, and really the game to me is a mixture of good and bad. Playing it now 20 years later, I will give it props that it is entertaining. I came back to it. I wanted to beat the levels. I felt accomplishment when I would beat, say, Von Blute, or the weird Juggernaut Nazi. Juggernautsy.
The Juggernautsy.
The Juggernautsy.
New comic book.
That's
character.
what he's called. Juggernautsy.
The Juggernautsy.
Yeah. But at the same time, I had to like really, you know what's funny too is I played the game almost speed running, and I think this is how you and I are different. We differ on this. You play things probably really, I'm just assuming this, strategically with hard difficulty, and you figure out like how to approach it. I play things where I run through, die, and I figure out like the path of least resistance. I would run through levels, dude. I would be like, hey, dude, I can totally jump and jank this corner and jump ahead and complete the level in under a minute because I like to speed run. You know?
I might have to just play a level for you.
Okay.
Because I try, it's just something I do. I try and set up it as cinematically as possible. I'm like, I know what I can do.
You want to experience it.
And I want it to look badass. Like the entire time I'm like, if I'm not feeling badass, what am I doing?
Right.
And that's kind of like why I like the harder difficulties too, is because the enemies have more hit points.
Do you feel this game gave that to you, that feeling?
Yeah. No.
Really?
Yeah, for real.
Okay.
Because everything's a bullet sponge. And so you get that running down the hallway.
Well, see, I didn't feel that. I think that's a difference in the difficulty because I feel like I was able to take down like I call them NPC enemies, but like the standard
the mooks, the
health packs.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I could just mow through them, and I would actually let some live and go forward, knowing something harder was in front of me, and then be like, oh shit, I'm getting effed up. I'm gonna run back and then jump and like.
See, and I take that into consideration too, because if like I see a group of enemies running towards me, I'm like, who's got black? Who is? Oh,
you have to see like
who is the black uniform because
you can only use certain attacks on those characters.
You gotta get behind them.
Yeah.
Or who's the red one because that's usually your target.
Yeah.
Is there a weird monster involved? Which there are a lot of weird monsters.
There are, yes.
And most of them can only be damaged by your blades, and so you have to save yourself.
Yeah.
To get in there and mix it up.
But I primarily only use the blades because I was just berserking the game. Like I came in as a berserker. I didn't have any strategy involved because, to be fair, the first act forced me to think that you just berserk things. There was no strategy involved.
Right.
Then you get thrown into the second act and you're like, oh, there is strategy involved. You're gonna get your ass kicked.
See, and the second act,
yeah,
especially playing it on hard, the first room where all of a sudden they're just like fully automatic weapons just be like black, and I'm like,
oh dude. Or when they introduce like rockets and you're like, wow, I can just get blown the F up.
Oh, my favorite thing about the rockets is when you hear the
yeah,
then you go into slow time and you grab a dude and you start sucking on them. And then you angle their body to shield, and then you jump off. And then you jump off.
I always laughed at that because I'd be like in the middle of a fight, and then everybody would just explode into guts, and I'd sit there and be like, "What the hell just happened?"
It's like, that's right. I am.
There were a lot of situations in this game where I was laughing out loud, which just kind of adds to the entertainment factor of Bloodrayne. You're like changing my opinion a little bit here, but. It's not. I don't hate the game. Don't get me wrong. We'll get to our final thoughts. But
so, if we want to talk about the third act, I know you haven't gotten as far.
I've just touched on it.
So, you literally just touched on it. From what
you
I
just
saw.
Watched me. Yeah, you just showed up to do the podcast, and you were like, "Oh, you just started the third act."
So, the third act gets into a lot more like complex, trying to figure out the castle and all that, because it's just a big castle,
right?
Is basically what it is,
which is where they ended at after starting in Louisiana,
which is dumb.
Yes, super dumb.
Should have just
why?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that has. I should have also done research.
It's funny because when you read the description of the game, it's like a story that spans 5 years, and it's literally. I think they just shoehorned that first act in to get that 5-year mark, because it is 5 years after Louisiana that the second act takes place.
Which is weird too, because it's super Nazi, but it wasn't like World War II yet.
It's the middle of World War II.
But it's not though, because 1933, 5 years later, is not 1942.
It's pre-America.
But it's like when the Nazis are rising.
They're
in
like
power.
ramping up.
Yeah. But I'm just confused.
It's stupid World War II.
Really should have done. I really wish I would have dove deeper into the context of the game, or like the original.
It's colonized by the
I don't
French
understand
and-
how it goes from Louisiana to Germany
I
to
think-
Argentina to. It doesn't make sense to me. I just don't. The first act should have just been scrapped.
Again,
on the cutting
first
room
act
floor.
is garbage.
It's so bad, so bad.
But the third act,
It has to be better
you're in the cat. I mean, it's fun. It's.
than the first.
I mean, I think so far from I haven't finished the third act.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to finishing it, but I'm stuck at a point which I will get to. But the fact that they start to add so much weird, there's jetpack Nazis.
It starts getting sci-fi-ish a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it starts getting like, well, we already have mutants and we have vampires, but now we have like super mutants, super vampires, and like jetpack.
But they completely
fighters.
ignore
Do you feel like they're going off the rails?
well, they ignore what they were doing in the second act. It's like literally they made 3 different games.
Interesting.
Because unless they show up later,
Yeah.
and they very well might, but I feel like I'm very close to finishing it.
Yeah. That's what she said.
But like the weird like bobbleheady alien things that
Just interject a lot of, I don't know. It was almost on point.
but then they completely jump the shark and just be like, and now you're in a mech.
I know, right? They're like, here's a mech suit that you can jump in. I saw this on the videos. I'm like, where does the mech suit fit into this?
That's
like,
where I'm at right now.
wow. You
And
know,
it's
I didn't
literally-
get to that point, but I saw that and I thought, why? Let's go into final thoughts.
I was gonna say with
I want to know your review. Let's get to it. So, Mr. Miller, what is your final thoughts on Bloodrayne?
I enjoyed it. I think this is it is worth playing. You're gonna have to muscle through the first act, but I think graphically for the era, it's pretty good. The decapitation and the blood physics.
You know what?
and
We didn't
everything.
touch on that, but like the body dismemberment is actually pretty impressive because it can happen, and when it does happen, it feels very fulfilling.
It's also game changing because you could be in a boss fight.
Yeah.
And you couldn't, well, I say boss fight, but like one of your targets,
Yes.
like you can one shot some of
You
these
can. I noticed that.
officers.
I know some of them like you took out really easily, and some of them like are the same fight.
Yeah, when you just watched me play it in that one set, it was like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill this guy real quick.
And it's like bam.
Yeah,
As opposed to it does have a little bit of that randomness of if you just hit the right
you just
area.
gotta know where to be.
Kind of reminded me a little bit of Jedi Outcast.
I love Jedi Outcast. I think if you are a fan of 2000s industrial music,
yeah,
the
we didn't talk about the
soundtrack-
music, but it was very Nine Inch Nailsy.
I'm gonna bring it up right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is very. It is. Let's just watch. We're gonna watch Queen of the Damned
oh, that
on
movie sucks.
lo-fi.
Oh.
Is basically the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's got that hard thumping. Yeah, it's gave me like it definitely gave me like poor man's Nine Inch Nails
But
vibes.
It does fit well, and it also it ramps up during action sequences.
It works.
And
I agree.
And then goes low when you're just kind of walking around. So I would say it's good.
I actually have no complaints about it. I don't think it's phenomenal, but I don't think it's bad.
I would say the animations are very jank. Of my biggest criticisms, even with like the combat moves, and they are more workable when you're in the slow-mo. I say this game is a slow-mo game. You have to play it with
So interesting.
the slow-mo to get the full experience,
Right.
because you can manipulate how she moves.
Are you saying you should play it on a higher difficulty?
I also say crank it up to hard. And
Okay.
if you can't hang, then I'm sorry, but
Well, hold on though. I play. You know, the whole thing is like with no.
but
no,
I'm also
that's your thing.
This is my opinion.
That's your thing. Like, and I agree, but also like I played the game from a standpoint of how it was released. Like,
well,
that's,
and this is
So,
when it's at the higher difficulties, you can manipulate her movements more, but you have to use the slow-mo.
it's more strategy. Yeah.
But I actually would give this one, this is the play. This is a treasure. This is
Really,
yeah.
really. So you're giving Bloodrayne a thumbs up, pretty much.
This is the thumbs up. Yeah.
Okay.
I would
Even not even beating it yet.
not even beating it yet.
Okay.
I literally for the second act alone, just for that
I feel that
couple hours of killing Nazis and
Nazi scalps.
but you have to get through the trash,
Yeah.
which sucks. So maybe a 3/4 cocked
Yeah.
thumbs up, but I mean, once I got to that second act though, I was sold.
So to you, this game is not garbage.
It's not garbage. No.
Okay.
It is definitely worth pulling out that trash heap.
Fair point. And I also have to take into consideration that you played it on a higher difficulty and it became more strategic, and I'm processing that. So my opinion on it, you know what's funny is I want to bring this up. So my son was watching me play it, and my son is he's 7 years old, and he's watching me play, and he goes, damn, that game, he didn't say damn, but he said, oh Dad, that game looks old. I was like, what? He's like, it looks old.
It is dated.
He's like, wow, that's an old game. I'm like, bro, you're playing Minecraft. He's like, yeah, but Minecraft looks so much better than this. And that game just looks old and sounds old. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's just go back to Minecraft. So here's my final thoughts on Bloodrayne. And we'll see if it's a garbage day treasure or not. Bloodrayne stands to me as like a time capsule of like an action adventure game from 2002. It's definitely encapsulates that era of time and graphic standards and gameplay standards, especially with like controls and everything. But it also has the cliches of like Nazi hunting, the provocative female characters, the over-sexualization, the Matrix like trend of bullet time and slow down combat. I often had to push myself through the first act, right? Like as you did. I nearly quit the game on the first act, and
I don't blame you.
Yeah. However, in Act 2, I did find like a lot of enjoyment. I found that like they found themselves. To me, that's weird. Like I don't play a lot of games where I feel like I'm you know, like,
oh, you caught your
you're
stride.
Like, whoa. Like imagine playing Tetris and at first you like can't play it.
You're just like boop,
Like
boop,
all
boop, boop.
they're all
this
just
is so
one
you're like,
blocks.
yeah.
And then it becomes to me it was weird. That's a weird experience to see like a game progressing into a good game from being like an absolute garbage game.
This is a gamer's game, I would say.
I don't know. I mean, I found enjoyment hunting down like the bosses, the list of bosses. In Act 2, the variety really ramped up.
I retract that statement. I wouldn't say this is a gamer's game. This is. You're right. You're touching on something.
Right. It's different. It's a weird game. Act 2 is really the game, you know, because it represents the game entirely, and it represents like what it's capable of and its mechanics and what it has to offer with like diverse enemies, objectives, but also was peppered with levels in there that were stupid. Like I felt like I completed levels really fast that didn't seem like they mattered. By the way, no checkpoints. Can we talk about this?
Oh,
there's no checkpoints.
Yeah,
so
you have to at least dedicate.
Problem.
You have to dedicate at least an hour every play.
You'll go from a level where you just go from point A to point B, right? It's like just get to this, and then you'll have a level that will be like get from point A, kill 2 bosses, do this crazy thing, almost die in water again, and then you beat it. And if at any time during any of these objectives in this one level, you have to restart the entire level over again. Whereas in the level after that, it's like A to B.
Before I came here, I actually had a rage quit moment where I was just trying to finish it.
Yeah.
And I almost beat this thing and fell into water, and it was like,
was it that level where you had to like break the thing and it falls through?
No, it's beyond where you're at right now.
Okay. Well, good to know.
Yeah. It was just before the mech level, which I kind of glazed over. There is a mech level. We're straight up.
It's so weird.
You just jump into a Nazi.
They just threw everything.
Oh, they
did.
They
didn't care. They were like, let's go.
Which I also kind of.
I know it's
I kind of like it because
the game has some passion in it, but it's not a game of passion.
No,
because there are glaring problems. There are playtest problems. There are things that could have been fixed when it was released.
The entire first act.
How did that get past the cutting room floor? How did Act 1 make it past? How they're like, yes, release it. But how do you make a product where the second part and possibly the third part is leagues ahead of the first part? That's so weird to me. And and I feel about the bosses, like I already said before, are a poor man's Metal Gear Solid bosses.
Yeah.
And some cutscenes were unintentionally hilarious. Like I laughed. The voice acting spans from like decent to ridiculous. And
it literally
silly.
It literally asked like my trashiest stripper friend.
Right.
Like, hey, I need a line here.
Which is me. I don't make a lot of money on my side hustle, but
I have friends that I could ask for.
Yeah, but there's some that are good, but majority not good. It's a weird game to play that has so much half-assery and also a passion. Like there's good and there's bad. But with all that said, I can't find myself playing this game again once I complete it.
Oh, I'll never play it again.
So I do not recommend this title. I give it, I don't want to say garbage, but I do not recommend this to people to play because there's too many problems. It's too dated. But however, I played it on a different difficulty setting. So perhaps the purist and the hardcore players would say yes. I do not. I give this a thumbs down, and I do not recommend Bloodrayne to the general public.
Give it a shot.
But you know what? This is what makes the show good, is like we have different opinions. You're always going to play the games as hard as you can. I'm going to play them standard. Yeah. And I feel like, eventually we'll reach that. I respect your view, and you kind of make me want to try to play it on hard difficulty to see where I was doing wrong and how I was not utilizing the mechanics.
I'm definitely going to finish it.
Well, I am too. I'm going to finish it, but I don't think it's going to change my view because the jank is too hard and it's too messy. I don't think it's a bad game. I don't think it's a super bad game. I think it's like an okay game. And I saw the potential in it. And I feel like whatever happened in that second act, whoever's in charge of that
second act is magic.
That should have been the whole game.
I mean, legitimately, no.
Yeah.
So I propose to you,
okay,
a rework.
Fair.
So you cut the entire first act out. You start in the second act.
Yeah.
I actually
You could start in the second act.
I haven't finished the third act, but I almost want to start in the
mean
third act.
I don't mean you literally can start in the second act, but like if
if you
the
listeners
game would
out
have
here,
been good.
if you find this game out there with like a memory pack that has a save at the start of the second act, you're gonna have a great fucking time. I think that's also part of what detracted from the experience in the first place is just having literally having to muscle through it just to experience the game.
Because we both had the same viewpoint. We were like, wow, this game sucks.
Yeah.
But, moving forward, though, we realize that we're not going to talk to each other in the future games. Because, we want to, save it for this moment, for recording.
You
like it. I don't.
Yeah. I mean,
it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. But I couldn't recommend it. I couldn't recommend it to somebody that wants to play a game of this genre of that time period. I'd be like, play Metal Gear Solid 2.
Is it a buy? No. Is it do you come does somebody give it to you, or it's on sale or something? If it's on Steam sale, for $1,
give it a shot.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
I mean, I did find enjoyment in it.
Don't spend the $15 that I did.
It wasn't a bad game. I can't stress that enough.
But I would not. I don't limit my purchase, but I know people who would.
Yeah, and by what I mean by I'm going to play it, I'm going to finish it. I'm not going to replay it because there was too much jank.
That's how it is for most games. For
not
me,
really though. I mean, for you. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I don't replay games a lot.
There's some though that I can always classics. Well, hopefully we come across one. There might be an episode.
But then again, it's gotta be the really good ones, which we're probably not gonna cover here.
Who knows? The whole point of this podcast is to find the gems in the rough that you and I never played.
The diamond.
And they're there.
Rough.
They're there, dude. By the way, if you're interested in Bloodrayne on the GameCube, it is currently $18 complete in box.
It is
not new, but just complete in box. So if you want to find it there, I think it's $7 loose.
It's $15 on Steam right now.
Yeah.
For I don't know what they call it. It's it's not a director's cut. It's
revamped, I think.
The blood cut.
I think it's called revamped because of vamp.
Yeah. It's something dumb, but it doesn't actually change the gameplay. Just having played it here, it literally is just a minor graphical boost.
You were saying that you came and played my GameCube version when you showed up, and you were like, this is not very different than the version I'm playing right now, which is the PC download, which actually kind of to me makes me further say not play it, because there was a lot to rework, and graphically, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much they could have. To me, that sounds like a cash grab. It doesn't seem much different than you playing it with my GameCube version.
Literally, the only thing I could say is the mountain looked better in my version.
Yeah. See, to me, I can't recommend
frame rate's probably higher, but
100% higher. But yeah, that's that. There we go. There's Bloodrayne.
Oh, before we leave, the movie sucks. All of the movies suck.
Oh, you watch the movies, huh?
Do not.
He went the extra mile. Mr. Miller went the extra mile.
Do not seek the treasure, my friends.
So you watched a movie? You watched one of Bloodrayne movies?
It's so bad.
I bet. I mean,
it's literally a prequel.
Oh, they're basing it off of this game, which I'm not saying the game is the worst game ever, but it's so all over the place that they're like, okay, let's just take bullet points from this game and make a movie.
It's a period piece set in medieval Europe
in the 80s
with a secret society that they barely touch on in the game. So, and I'll leave you with that. You do get to see a lot of titty in it though at one point. So,
well, there you go. They were focused on
boobs
and boobs. Well, that's it. So next week we've selected our game. Moving forward, we will actually choose the game in real time, as we're recording. But because this is the first episode and we wanted to make a couple of them, we already chose the random game. So what we're going to do moving forward is we're going to go back and forth on choosing the console, but we don't get to choose the game. The game is randomly chosen by the random number generator. And Mr. Miller chose the NES for the next game.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to a console that I never had, but had played because of relatives or whatever.
That's cool though. I have one right there, dude, with the old school TV. You see that?
Yeah.
You see my old school wooden TV?
I actually,
oh man,
was kind of gushing over that earlier.
It's so cool. I love it. That was donated. So we went into the NES library, and what came up, a game neither of us have ever played, I've never heard of, was a game called Rampart. So the next episode is on Rampart on the NES. If anybody out there has played Bloodrayne or wants to just send us any questions we'll ask on the show, send your questions or your reviews or anything. Say hi to supergarbageday@gmail.com, and maybe you'll make it on the next episode. Thank you for sticking around. We appreciate you listening to our show, the first episode. We'll see you next week. Take it easy.
Love you guys.
Thank you for watching with my dad. I just want to say, everybody, guys, bye. Guys, bye. Guys, bye. Guys, bye. Guys, bye. Guys, bye.